The biggest aha moment was when I asked her, are you going to sit or are you going to stand? And why I asked about that was because when you interact with the abuser, the victim usually sits and abuser is standing. So automatically the body language, the nonverbal communication is so powerful that you don't even know how much it impacts you when you are sitting and someone is standing and telling you things.
Wow, that is brilliant, Paulina. Welcome to Moving Forward, the podcast of the International Coaching and Counseling Institute, where coaching meets real life. And today I have a very special guest, Paulina. I can never say your surname, a Polish surname. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. You'll have to say your surname yourself.
Good morning. My name is Paulina Wyrwas.
You see, I would say wires or something like that from the way you read it. Paulina used to be a student of ours, and I invited her today to talk about emotional abuse. Paulina, when you were doing our phase 2, the professional coaching practitioner part of the course, your focus was on emotional abuse. It is something clearly that is very close to your heart, and this is why I invited you. So we'll talk about it now. And I'm sure that knowing you and knowing the things that you've done in the last few months with coaches, and also when I went to see you in a conference in The Hague a few months ago, I was mind blown by how much there is still to know about it, that I thought I knew about it and I realized how much I don't. And you're specializing in it, so this is why I invited you. So thanks for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
We have a tradition that when there is a guest here, I'm always asking them, what did they think about coaching before for you, it's before you started learning it.
Well, for me, coaching was about giving advice. That I will go meet someone, I will share my problem, and they will tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So easy, right?
So easy.
And luckily, thanks to my friend Ada, who is also your former student.
Correct.
I understood that.
I can say her surname, Chlebovich. I can say
well
that
done. I understood that I was very wrong. Because it's not about, it's a beautiful process about discovering and clarifying what you want. And a coach aligns actually with a client and supports them in their growth and accompanying them where they want to be in the journey. So
Wow. So from you will tell me what to do, I will do it, my life will be fixed, to really realizing that it's about the client and about working with them. And I know that you're going to tell us 2 very interesting stories from your clients today, clients who went through emotional abuse. And I think we will see that exactly what you described now.
Indeed, it's an important topic, and we don't hear a lot in a public space about it.
Correct. So, question that I really want you to help me and the people who are listening to us now to understand is, what is actually emotional abuse?
Yeah, that's a very good question. But maybe before I explain the science of and give the definition of the emotional abuse, I think it's important to highlight that emotional abuse or any type of abuse doesn't discriminate.
What do you mean?
I mean that it affects everybody. It doesn't mean if you are a man or a woman, how old are you, your religion or the social status. It affects everyone regardless of their characteristics and background. And it's also misleading that the emotional abuse is caused or performed, we can say, by your partners. It can also come from your employer, your co-workers,
Friends,
colleagues at school,
Yeah.
even at the age of 10,
Yeah.
they can abuse already their peers.
Yesterday, I heard a lecture of somebody, and he happened to give an example of people. He's American, of children in camps. You know, the American camps. Because somebody threw a question, said, "Oh, all children are good. You know, all children were born good." And he said, "Really? Have you been to a camp and seen 7, 8-year-olds how they behave towards each other?" So that's also abuse. It can be physical, but it can be emotional.
Indeed.
I can tell you that, well, maybe I'm jumping into something here, but before you came here, I thought maybe she will ask me, you know, or I can give examples of emotional abuse. I was 4 or 5 in kindergarten, and I was a big girl, fat, and they called me terrible names. It starts that age, doesn't it? I mean, it can be really nasty.
Yes, it can start very early. When we are kids, we might get abused and then pass it to others. So thank you so much for sharing your story, because indeed, it can happen, as you said, at the age of 4 already.
Yeah.
But with your permission, today I would like to focus more on the present, what is happening now, how the abuse looks now, in the sense when it's happening, not not going to the childhood abuse, because it's very important topic and part. But let's focus on how we adults, or what is happening nowadays, is affecting us.
Yeah, great. So we are focusing our conversation today on adults that are being abused as we speak, like at any given moment as an adult, rather than digging into the past, traumas from the past, etc.
Indeed.
Good.
So what is the emotional abuse? It's actually a form of abuse where one person uses emotions to harm or control someone else. It refers to deliberate patterns of mistreatment rather than standalone incident.
In other words, it carries on for a long time. It's not like once I was angry with you, said something horrible, but it carries on. It's something that takes days, months, weeks.
Correct. And it doesn't also mean that it has to happen every day, because it happens in cycles, but it is ongoing mistreatment.
Yeah.
And emotionally abusive people may use insult, criticism, or even threats to wear down your self-esteem, to make you feel that you are worthless, to undermine your mental health, or at the end, creating also psychological dependencies on the abusive partner.
What do you mean?
That you as a victim become dependent or codependent
On them.
Yes.
I can really see it happening with partners, but also at work.
At work, but it can also happen within the families, even if they live abroad. So as expats, we can get abused by the families that we left behind.
I know a story of somebody that arrived to the Netherlands. He moved to the Netherlands because of his sexual preferences, and because the family really bothered him. It's a very religious family. He comes from where he's from, and the family is still not accepting of him and his choices, and they are really bothering him a lot. It's really to the point that it is abusive, threatening him, etc. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not an isolated example. There are many, many stories that you can hear amongst expats.
Yeah.
That from time to time, the families, the parents or siblings, they are just using emotional blackmail to make you feel bad in general.
Yeah. Again, one of the things you don't think about, but when you're talking about it, it makes sense. I mean, I can run a few stories that I know. Sometimes it's like a punishment that you left, but sometimes it's just people sometimes leave because of the abuse, but the abuse carries on.
True, and that makes you feel guilty.
Yeah, true.
That's it's very, very interesting. You haven't done anything wrong. You feel guilty. You feel bad, and you feel bad, but there's no physical signs of it. There are no scars. There are no bruises. No one hit you.
In other words, it's very difficult to detect.
Correct. And that's one of the things that people tend to say, that the physical or sexual abuse are a prevalent form of abuse. But experts are actually saying that the emotional abuse, it's really difficult to detect, precisely because it doesn't leave any marks.
So how do you detect it?
Well, it takes a long way. It's important to reflect how it makes you feel, how the partner or coworker makes you feel, and if this is really you, or it's someone else's projection.
But wait a minute, does it not need a really good base of knowing what is an abuse? In other words, when somebody behaves in a certain way to me, where do I draw the line and say this is normal, and this is not? Do you see what I mean? Because it needs a really high place of awareness to say, I think I'm being abused by a friend, by a partner, by a coworker, by my boss. You really need to know what's right and what's wrong.
Yes, you need to know your boundaries. Your boundaries need to be clearly set. And if someone is crossing those boundaries, then you need to reflect how you feel about this. Do you feel, for example, that someone is limiting you? Your freedom, your flexibility are missing. It's easy to say, but the process, the emotional abuse process is very slow. It happens really over time, and it happens also in cycles. And I think that's also a reason why we detect that, or we seek for help and support so late. Because at the beginning, we have like the honeymoon phase, right? Everybody are happy and enjoying themselves. And then the tensions start building up, because abuser cannot pretend to be nice for a long period of time. When the tension reaches the peak, we have it's called incident. So it's when the argument starts, or when the abuser starts using specific words and phrases to limit you.
Okay.
But because they are masters of manipulation, they also know how to apologize. So the reconciliation starts.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm so sorry I did that to you.
Yes, they give you excuses. At some point, they will blame you, the victim, that you made them. You are
responsible for it?
You are responsible for it. They might deny that actually the abuse occurred, or actually it wasn't that bad actually at the end.
So making it smaller, like minimizing the effect or what happened.
Correct.
It's not such a big deal. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be one of the phrases that they are using. And as we are declining, we are reaching like the calm phase, where actually the abuse, the incident is already forgotten, and no abuse is taking place. Let's say the normal life, daily life, without the honeymoon phase. And once you are living in that calm phase, things start working out, you are feeling more comfortable, happier, and we are back to the honeymoon phase.
Oh, and that's why it's called the circle.
That's why it's called the circle.
Okay, so just before you're going to tell us the two stories that I know you're going to tell us.
Yes, I do have approval, and it's important to say that I have an approval of these two clients to share their story.
But can we just before you tell us the stories, can you tell us of different forms of abuse, different types of abuse maybe?
Yes, I think would be good to focus maybe on the 10 most common forms.
There's more than 10?
Unfortunately. Of course, a part of the physical, sexual, or even spiritual abuse, there could be also a financial abuse, where a partner might withholding money or refusing you the right to work and earn your own money. So you can.
Why do you need to work? I'm providing for both of us.
Indeed. So you don't need to be independent.
Yeah.
Then
but you remind me of. Oh gosh, yeah.
Yes?
You remind me of when they came to here. It was sugar coated as you don't need to work anymore. But then, indeed, when they arrived here, she got an allowance, a cash allowance, a weekly allowance for her, the kids, the house. And in the beginning, it looked lovely, but then it was enough that she wanted a little bit more because she wanted to go out or she wanted to buy something more expensive. She had to ask his permission. And she was such an intelligent woman, it took ages, I think, for her to realize that this is the abuse. Because it was agreed together, I'm earning more here, you don't need to work. Just enjoy the time here in the Netherlands. But yeah.
So he took care of you. He cares about you, right?
Yeah.
Then another form of abuse would be verbal abuse. So this could be a behavior of harassing, labeling, for example. And this is the verbal abuse. It's most prevalent form of the emotional abuse. Words can really make bigger damage to you and long-lasting damage than a physical abuse.
Yeah.
At some point, the physical pain will disappear. The bruises will disappear.
Yeah.
But
the words stay.
Words stay.
And they do. We do know how much effect words have on us, for good and for bad.
Indeed. Then we are going to, it's a quite not very non-tangible type, a gaslighting. It's very an abstract word.
Yeah.
And do you know what does it mean?
I think it comes from a movie that, if I know the story correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a movie in which the partner puts the wife in the attic or something like that, and he switches off the lights and puts on the lights, something like that, and he tells her, I can't remember it now, but it tells her that it's, I can't remember, but it's something like that. It comes from lights that come on, like it tells her it's in your head. Yeah.
It is like, I don't know that movie, but it's a tactic to make you doubt your own feelings, thoughts, or even you start questioning your sanity.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that I think happened. I never watched the movie, but that's the thing that he was trying to make her misbelieve in what she's thinking.
Mm-hmm. And it really, the goal of this is to completely disempower you.
In other words, if you're insane, if you're not thinking correctly, I'll think for you.
Indeed. I will take care of you. I know better.
Yeah.
Then we have isolation, so limiting your freedom.
But could it be also isolation from society, from friends, from family?
Oh, absolutely.
We're good together. Why do you need somebody else?
Indeed. Well, there is a very thin line between let's spend time together because we don't have too much time for each other, and I don't want you to meet your friends because they are not good for you. So
and even if it's not said in these words, it can be, I don't like that friend, or I don't like that member of your family, or I don't like to go into your family, or I'm not feeling comfortable when I'm going to see these friends that you have.
And would you feel abuse hearing that? From time to time?
Upset, but not abuse. You see what I mean? I'll feel upset. And I would say, okay, let's not meet them.
So you are losing the control as well, right?
Yeah,
Over
'cause
your decisions.
yeah, because you want to. I'm trying to think about a situation like that. If I want to make, let's say it's a partner, I want to make the partner satisfied, happy. Oh, I'm not going to take him to see a group of people he doesn't like or something like that. I'll meet them separately, but in the meantime, you're losing yourself and your will, right? You wanted to meet them. Let's say it's
It really depends how that the partner is also reacting towards the friends, right?
yeah.
And sometimes friends, people that are standing the side, they might see more than you see being within that relationship.
In other words, the abusing partner is doing it deliberately so the others don't see what is happening.
Indeed, because they don't want you to build your support network. So you cannot get help when it's needed. And something which is quite typical, I would say, also at schools, it's putting down, it's belittling peers or colleagues. So mocking, calling names, telling you that you are stupid, or embarrassing you publicly to actually make you feel worthless would be another form of the abuse.
Well, I can think about a couple of teachers who did that to us when we were teenagers. And you're like, you're right, you want to pull your hairs like you're supposed to be super supportive, but that's how they behaved.
Yeah. The emotional abuse has so many forms, and no one teaches you how not to be an abuser. At schools, no one teaches you how to deal with your emotions. Neither in the adult life. Only when you start seeing for help, you start working with psychotherapists or with coaches, you might start realizing the feelings and the patterns you have.
You mean as an abuser?
I would say even both.
Okay.
Because even if you are a victim, being a victim might be a pattern as well. Because you seek for that kind of relationships. And I think it's safe to say that all of us are looking for three things in life: safety or security, respect, and love. And if those three basic needs are not met, you might start behaving in an unhealthy way. So because you are looking for them, or because someone is limiting those three basic needs.
Yeah.
And we need to discover that ourselves, right? Or we need a guide like parents teach you that and show you that.
Yeah.
But we start talking a bit of the root causes of the abuse, and I have still a couple more of forms.
Yeah, let's go. Let's finish that first.
Already mentioned that it's a control or manipulation. It can be there, so it could be a guilt tripping. So the abuser make you feel like you own them something. They treat you as a child. Because they know better, right? They dictate the decision, they monitor the activities, and they monitor you as well. And nowadays, this is quite popular with all the social medias and the smartphones.
Yeah.
They can read your messages, so they are controlling your conversation. They can scan your social media. They can even track you, and you might be not even aware about that.
I can give you an example.
Yeah. Sure.
Again, somebody that I know of, their story is that because of social media, his boss started to track when he is online or not, and to start saying, oh, you were supposed to, I asked you to do this, you didn't do that, but you had time to go on Facebook to write all this on Facebook at 8 o'clock in the evening, or off hours for sure. And that guy felt like, hello, I'm allowed to have my own time, and I can decide to do whatever I want with it. And it's a simple thing. You don't need to track you don't need to open somebody's phone and read their messages. It's enough that somebody is just on social media as well. He literally gave him a really hard time and guilt. What were you doing in the evening on social media? I asked you to do something for me and you haven't done that.
Wow, even questioning what you are doing in your free time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's an abuse, right?
Yes. This is very unhealthy behavior from the employer side.
And like you were talking earlier about boundaries, one of the things that guy had to do, he was very scared to do it, but he had to do it, is to face his boss and to say, that's, I'm here until 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. Whatever I did, but you are not criticizing me for what I do after hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think
and it's hard because, I don't need to tell you how many people will be scared to lose their job for behavior like that, like to go and face their bosses.
That's true, but I think in the work environment, it might be easier to take actions on the abuse and the unhealthy threats. Companies nowadays, most of the time, have preventing abuse policies. You have HR, who are a trusted people, that where you can get professional and correct support, and they might even take over to deal with that kind of situations.
Yeah, but a lot of people are not aware of it. That's part of what HR can do for them, and not to talk about being afraid to go to HR and talk to them.
Yes, it's all about the trust. It's about the trust that the HR is indeed on the right side, and they won't be biased.
Yeah,
and they will do the right thing. But the support system in a workplace, I think, is better developed than in our normal lives. It's at least we are aware. We know where to search. Right? We have the
most
police,
people,
most
Paulina, because and I think we are very lucky here in the Netherlands that that's the culture. But I think a lot of people, and we have listeners from really all over the world. Not in every culture there is like HR will be so supportive or so aware that this can happen. And this is why I want us to get to the stories that you have. And you have very inspiring stories. One of them is about somebody at work.
Correct.
Right? So we will hear that exactly. But also I know that you have some advice for us of how to detect it and what to do with it.
Maybe it's a good moment to share Adam's story.
Yeah, come on.
So Adam approached me for coaching. His goal was to discover what to do next because he wasn't feeling happy in the current job, and he wanted to know if finding a new job would be a good solution for him, and maybe in that new place he would feel more appreciated and acknowledged.
So basically a career job coaching.
Yes. So we started our conversation with discovering and discussing the current situation, how he felt at work, what he was doing, what was the environment in the office. And actually it turns out that it wasn't that bad, that he liked what he was doing. The atmosphere with colleagues was great, but there was only one person who was making him feel miserable and doubting his own skills. And fun fact was that it was a colleague with whom he used to have very good relationship, but suddenly that person became abusive. They were working together on a big project, and from time to time the important information wasn't passed to Adam. The colleague was belittling him, gossiping, or sometimes also taking credit for his work. So at some point, Adam realized, okay, I do like my place. I do the place where I am now. But what can I do about the situation? Because he couldn't continue working with that colleague. So together, we worked on possible solutions or the ways to deal with the current situation. And the solutions came from Adam.
Which we must say it's not his real name.
Right? Yes, of course.
But he gave you permission to share his story.
Yes. So it was the solutions were he could stay and do nothing. He could stay and report that to HR, so the situation would escalate.
Yeah.
He could, of course, escape, find a new job, and start the whole stressful process. And the last option was to stay and have a conversation with that colleague. Because it was very unusual behavior. And he want to give it a try, give the opportunity to that colleague to maybe reflect.
Yeah.
Because you might not be aware that you are abusive. So Adam felt very comfortable with that last option. What we have then, the next step in our process was to determine how he would convey the message, how he would express his feelings, and when was the moment, what would be the best moment to have the chat. So also the colleague wouldn't feel attacked. And he said, okay, coffee moment, having a coffee together would be a good opportunity to have, let's say, casual conversation.
Yeah.
On the next session, during the next session, Adam shared his experience during that coffee chat. And turned out that that abusive colleague was having very difficult personal situation, and to show the strength and power and being mean to Adam was like an escape way for him to deal with those traumatic and difficult emotions he had in the after work life.
So the colleague who was an abuser, because Adam was braving it and went and talked to him, shared something from his personal life and kind of realized, hey, I'm passing it on to Adam in this case.
Indeed. And that was giving him a sense of power.
Yes.
And releasing the stress. So after the conversation, Adam felt really relieved. No need to change the job. No need to escalate the situation to HR. And they found a way to work through. So the Adam contribution to the project became correct. He felt appreciated, and his knowledge was also acknowledged. So as you can see, with Adam, it was ongoing abuse, but for quite short period of time.
Yeah, but also we need to emphasize here two things. First of all, the power of being authentic and telling the truth, telling what you're feeling. In this case, it's a colleague who used to be a friend. I'm guessing that Adam felt, with your support, strong enough to go and do it. So he was authentic. He said what's on his mind. He kind of took a chance to go to that colleague and to talk to them. But there is a but here. Because in some cases, actually quite a lot of cases, you need to really know how to talk to the abuser. And this is why you need the help of a professional, because it can really make a damage as well. So in this situation, what you discovered with Adam is that it's safe to go and do it.
Yes, and he felt empowered.
Exactly.
He knew what to do. He was secure.
Yeah.
And self-confident.
Yeah.
And he knew that he could carry on that conversation.
Yeah.
So that was, and he was very pleased with the outcome.
Yes. Wow. Should we tell Anna's story? Because this is a very interesting one.
Yes, it's interesting, and I think many people can relate with her story, because it's indeed emotional abuse that happened in a romantic relationship. So Anna approached me because she was already not feeling well. She was doubting her emotions and feelings.
Emotionally not feeling well, or?
No. Emotionally, she was feeling well. We didn't have an emotional crisis there. But from time to time, she was not feeling herself. From time to time. And she said, well, Paulina, let's have a conversation on what is wrong in my relationship. What is happening? She was sensing something, but she really liked to have discussed this with someone from outside of her friend cycle.
Yeah.
She very openly shared the stories and the conversations she had with the partner, and all the forms of the abuse that we mentioned before. They were really reflected in their daily life. There was a gaslighting. the partner was saying, "Oh, you will. I'm the best that could happen to you. You will never find someone better." Even his parents were supporting and acknowledging what he was saying.
Wow, that deep.
It was that deep. The family was also sharing very bad stories or talking bad about the previous girlfriends. And what really bothered Anna was the lack of freedom and the constant limitations. She was not allowed to spend her free Saturdays with her friends. She couldn't, or they didn't go spend the free time outside in nature, cycling, hiking.
Only at home.
At home, watching TVs with his parents or going to a shopping malls.
Okay.
Completely opposite to what Anna loved and she was used to. He was also deciding what she should wear.
Oh my God.
He was sharing really strong opinions on her wardrobes. And there were constant discussions that was leading to the arguments. And her picture, when I asked her, okay, tell me about yourself. How do you see yourself? She said, I'm independent. I have a job. I have my own place. I have car. I'm flexible. I'm mobile. But still, I'm trapped. I feel like I'm trapped, like a bird in a cage. And the cage is not even golden.
Not that the golden cage is good, but...
Indeed. Indeed. But she was suffocating.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, let's brainstorm. One of the brainstorming on the solutions. One of the solutions would be a couples therapy. But we know that the couples therapy is successful only if both sides want to grow.
Sure.
And in this case, it was only Anna who was interested in growing and in making the relationship healthier. The second option was to break up, to split. And that was the option she felt really comfortable with. We discussed pros and cons of each option, and breakup was the only gateway for her. From there, we start working on a actually safe escape or leave from that relationship for her.
Yeah, and that's a very important point to work on. That's what I was saying before. That in cases like that, when an abuser is a real abuser, saying I'm leaving you can really cause trouble after.
Indeed. And also that this partner was saying that Anna was the reason of his health problems. That because of her, he ended up in a ER at some point.
Okay.
So working on a safe escape, what does it mean? We discuss, for example, where and when, of course, she will pass the message. Is she going to travel to his home? Is she going to do that over the phone? If it is over the phone, where is she going to be? In her house, at work, with friends? If she goes to his place, is it going to be in the house or outside?
So you really discussed all these little details.
Every little details we discuss. She opted for, okay, I will do it over the phone because that's the safest option for me. She would be at home. We discussed at what time she would call, when she would feel comfortable. We even discussed what she will wear.
Wow. To that detail,
because it empowers you. Those are the little tiny details, but it gives you that inner strength to carry on. Because breaking up, it's not easy.
Sure.
So we had the clothes. We had even... we discussed what she would drink, if she would have a drink or not. We discussed also the message, so not putting blame on him, but stating the facts, sharing the facts, and how she feels and how this relation is bad for her, not touching, not pointing out that the partner is actually, it's everything because of the partner. And the biggest aha moment was when I asked her, are you going to sit or are you going to stand?
Whoa.
And why I asked about that, it was because when you have an abusive conversation or when you interact with the abuser,
Yeah.
the victim usually sits or is in the corner, and abuser is standing. So automatically the body language is the unverbal communication is so powerful that you don't even know how much it impacts you when you are sitting and someone is standing, leaning towards you and telling you things.
Wow. That is brilliant, Paulina.
And she like paused for a moment and she said, oh my God, there was one situation during the whole relationship when I was standing, he was abusive, I was standing, I could defend myself, and he really didn't like it. Because she had power to confront and fight him.
Yeah.
Fight, not physical fight, but defend herself.
Because she was standing and he was sitting.
Because she was standing.
Such like detail that is unbelievably powerful.
Right?
Wow. That's amazing.
And she just, we went through, and she was amazing. She took a piece of paper, she wrote down everything, step by step. And we even discussed what she will do after that call.
Wow. Did she, for example, want like support, that somebody will be with her, or she did it alone?
No, she did that alone, but she was really brave in sharing the whole situation with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And also with two best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also very lucky that the friends were very supportive. They were not judgmental. No one said, I told you so, because we know that the families can start helping you with that statement.
Yes.
She got a really good support from two girlfriends and her mom. And of course, life writes their own stories.
Yes.
Even though she was perfectly prepared.
Don't bang on the table because I can see it on the recording. Boom.
The break didn't happen that specific day, but it took 3 conversations over 3 days. However,
but she stuck to her gun.
She was so confident, she was so prepared that it was like that. Yeah. She said, I didn't suffer at all during the conversations. And even going through it reassured me that this is the best decision I could make for myself to get out of that relationship.
Wow.
We catch up, of course, after the breakup. At the end of the week, we catch up. We had the call, and she shared that experience. And you could see in the face how relieved she was. Oh my gosh, it was like completely, her eyes were smiling.
Yeah.
She was dressed properly, like the way she loved.
You could really see in her body language and in her appearance the difference.
Such a relaxation state. Yeah. Incredible. She was free.
Yeah.
She was free. And that's the power of having the right support.
Yeah.
Along the way. It's not just at the beginning or when it's really bad, but along the whole process.
So take me through what kind of support can people have or look for when they finally realize that's happening to them?
Well, first of all, the most important thing is to acknowledge that there is a problem and there is an issue, right? The second one, I think, is to seek for help. And this can go 2 ways. Either you reach out to your friends and families, but they are not
the circle of support.
The circle of support, but we need to remember that friends and families, they are not always trained or professionals in handling that kind of situation.
And like you said, they can say, I told you so, I always thought he's not for you.
Which is not really a healthy reaction. Then we have professionals. It can be coaches, life coaches. If the abuse was very traumatic, then you need to go to the psychologist or psychotherapist. You can also reach out to your GP.
Or social workers.
Or even the neighborhood police, if you need that.
Yeah.
But both cases And also working with the clients, and you probably agree with me that the circle of support is the key
Sure.
to pull through.
Sure. Agree. No, but it is, because these are the kind of things you shouldn't go through alone. You shouldn't go through alone. First of all, because it's difficult. And secondly, because you need somebody to reflect and mirror and kind of work with you on the story. It's that you're not crazy, that you're not making up things, etc. But also, like I said before, what if it doesn't work out? You still want to pursue. I mean, with Anna, she was very lucky to have you, because she knew that there's somebody back there who she will have to tell in a few days' time what happened. And you know what I mean? So that is really helpful. And what if the abusive person is not taking it so well? You need people to do it together with you. So that circle of support and somebody who knows what you're going through is extremely important.
Or you need to still live with the abuser. Because Anna was lucky. She had her own place, and he was living with his parents.
Okay.
But what if you are in the relationship, you acknowledge, there is an abuse, but you have to live with that person.
Yeah.
What then?
Yeah.
So we have the support, and then it comes the boundaries. You need to set them very clear. You need to communicate them to the abuser and make sure that you also respect your own boundaries.
Yeah.
Respect. Then you can move to practice self-care, right? Good proper sleep, proper diet. You relax the way you like. What Anna did, she went she was cycling to the forest.
Because that's what she wanted, but in the partnership, she couldn't do it because he didn't want it.
Indeed. And you need to work on your self-confidence, self-esteem, if that was really destroyed along the way. And it's good to also keep a record of what is happening if you still live with that person. Or journaling could be a way.
Yeah.
And on one hand, it helps you to indeed keep the record and put on the paper what is happening. But you also reflect on how you feel.
Yeah. So not just facts, but also feelings.
Yes. And I think the important thing, and maybe the most difficult one, is to forgive yourself. That you were in such a relationship, maybe for such long.
Yeah.
Maybe for too long.
Yeah.
You didn't see that coming or sooner.
Yeah. And how did I not see it before? What have I done wrong? And not to talk about the many things that abusers will say to you, like belittling you and not appreciating you. And that needs to be recovered. You need to really forgive yourself. And then back to the point you said before, work on your strength and self-esteem. Whoa. Wow. I want to ask you a question. How common is it?
For the emotional abuse, there are no clear and good statistics. For physical, these are, if you report, of course, right?
Yeah.
It will stay there. And seeing and having conversation with colleagues, with clients, it happens constantly. It happens daily in every people's life. In every house. It can happen in every household.
When you're saying it, actually throughout the conversation, I thought, about stories I know, things that happened to me. And you realize how true that is, what you're saying now. It really is happening a lot more than you think. And it happened to me in various times in my life when I was younger, but also not that long ago. And it's back to what we said, the realization that it exists, what it is, and what are my boundaries. Where do I say enough? No more. Now it's me, and I'm not taking that anymore. And then what to do with it, it's the next question, of course. But the realization of I had enough, I'm not having this anymore.
That it's so true. And the fact that it's happening everywhere, it's also making this topic so important for me because I share those experiences.
Yeah.
One way or another, in different times of my life, you experience that.
Yes.
But it's important to remember that you have a choice, right?
Yes.
You can be the victim. You can also become an abuser because you don't know how to deal with the emotions, or because this sounds familiar to you. But there is always a choice. There's always a way to have a healthier relationships and healthier life.
If you, again, aware of it, want it, and deciding to go for it.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
I wonder if we should stop now because I'm looking at the time. We spoke for over an hour. Okay, so Paulina, it comes to the time when I'm getting to ask you 2 questions that are surprising, and you get to ask me 1 question back.
Okay.
Has it ever happened to you that you were coaching somebody you knew they're going through emotional abuse, but they refused to acknowledge it?
No.
Okay.
They were more scared to take actions and fight because they thought that it's a lost case. It was familiar, very close, so they didn't feel empowered enough to fight that fight.
Yeah.
And that was because of the heavy childhood traumas.
Okay.
So it wasn't the right moment to leave the relationship. Not yet.
And I know this is your focus. It's a very heavy focus. And I think people are very lucky to have you as their coach when it comes to that. But if there was a different case, like a topic for coaching that you would like to work with apart from this one? I know that people don't come to you just for emotional abuse, but what is a case that you remember that you really liked?
True. I really liked working with clients. That would be a next area of focus, which is still related to emotional abuse. People with low self-esteem and with strong voices of inner critics.
Oh, yeah. The 2 go together hand in hand, I believe.
Yes, and the most wonderful part of working with inner critic is that the critics can become your mentors. And when you explain that to a client, saying, hey, did you know that your critic can become your mentor? It's like, what?
Why do I sense another episode on the podcast on this one?
And so this is like so wonderful just to see that, really? That suddenly people who struggle for so long, they can see a light in the tunnel. It's like, wow, I didn't know that. And we know that the inner critics are built and formed in your childhood. So as an adult...
Not only, but a lot of them do.
Mainly, right? No, a lot of them. So as an adult, when someone tells you, no, actually, they can be your friends, it's...
Let's talk about it. When do we record the next one? And it's your turn to ask me a surprising question.
What is your favorite quote or quote that you love to live by?
Oh, that's an easy one. Really is. Just because I heard it yesterday again. By the same person. It's my business mentor. She is saying, if it's possible in the world, it is possible for me.
Wow.
In other words, if somebody is doing something and you look at it and you think, wow, I would love to do that too, put it in like a mental note to self. If somebody else did it, I can do it too. In my own way, in my own pace, but you can achieve anything you want.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
love it.
powerful.
Yes.
And I can see how your face lighten up
Yeah.
saying that. Well
I
done.
will tell her to listen to this part of this podcast. Paulina, I cannot thank you enough. I think you're doing an amazing job with a topic that's not easy to deal with. I know you're not only coaching emotional abuse, you're doing other things. And like we could see with Adam's story, he came to you for something else. And you, in your way of being very sensitive and very professional, you could realize that this is the case. Thank you so much for coming. I've been waiting for it for a month, and you know that. We're going to put in the description of the episode how people can contact you, how people can talk to you, connect to your social media, etc. Thank you so much. And is there any final words you want to say?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for the invitation.
Pleasure.
And allowing us to talk about this important topic.
Super important. And as we could discover, happens to everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.